A story about a house, a grandmother's secret, and the registered letter that changed everything. My name is Watson. I'm 32 years old. Last week, my father pointed at my bedroom door and said coldly, "Vacate the room right now, Wa. Your older brother Connor and his pregnant wife Brittany need it." Brittany stepped forward, one hand rubbing her belly, looked me up and down with pure disgust, and said, "Honestly, it would be better if you left the house completely. We don't need you here anymore. You're just a burden taking up space." My mother stood there silently, staring at the floor. Not a single word of defense. My own family threw me out like trash. I packed my bags without arguing and left. 2 days later, Brittany called me, voice shaking, hysterical. "It's not true. Please tell me you didn't send those papers." I sent them. What they didn't know was that they hadn't just kicked out their sister. They had evicted the real owner of the entire house. And that one registered letter was about to destroy everything they thought they owned. This is the moment the invisible daughter finally fought back. Growing up, the pattern was always the same. Connor could do no wrong. I was the responsible one. The one who didn't need attention. The one whose achievements were expected, not celebrated. When I was 19, working my way through college, I rode the bus every day. $96 a month for that bus pass. Connor needed a car for his internship. Dad bought him a used 2009 Toyota Camry for $8,500. I got more bus tokens. Their college funds told the whole story. Connor's, $85,000, saved from the day he was born. Mine, $12,000, started when I was 14. When I asked why, Mom said they'd had more financial stability when Connor was young. The math never added up. I stopped asking. Connor lived at home until he was 26. Never paid rent, never contributed to groceries. When he finally moved out, Mom cried like he was going off to war. When I moved back after college to save money, they charged me $600 a month. Over 7 years, I paid $50,400 to live in what I thought was my parents' house. "You make good money now," Mom would say when I offered to help with groceries. Connor's still finding himself. Connor was 33. But someone was watching all of this. My grandmother Dorothy, my mother's mother, lived with us from 2015 until she died in 2018. She had a wheelchair stationed in the corner of the living room, and she saw everything. In 2017, she pulled me aside one afternoon. Her hands were thin, spotted with age. "Your mother is my daughter, and I love her," she said. "But she's making a mistake with you. I won't let you pay for it forever." I didn't understand what she meant then. One humid August afternoon, Grandma Dorothy called me into the living room while everyone else was at Connor's softball game. She was sitting by the window, sunlight catching the silver in her hair. She took my hand and placed a small silver locket into my palm. Inside was a tiny photo of her and me when I was 5. "Your mother was once the quiet daughter too," she whispered. "My husband favored your uncle so much it nearly broke her. I won't let history repeat itself with you." Her voice was frail but steady. Sometimes the quietest ones need the loudest protection. I wore that locket under my shirt for the next 8 years. Even after she passed, I never took it off. She died 6 months later. At the funeral, Connor sobbed loudly. Big heaving waves of grief that everyone noticed. I held Mom's hand. Nobody mentioned Grandma's will. I didn't know there was one that mattered. 2 years ago, everything changed. A cream-colored envelope arrived, heavy paper, law firm letterhead. The address line had my name. Only my name. May 12, 2023. I was 30 years and 1 week old. Dear Ms. Watson, per the irrevocable trust established by Dorothy Campbell in 2008, ownership of the property located at 418 Metrobrook Lane transfers to you effective your 30th birthday. Please contact our office to complete the transfer documents. I read it 3 times. My house. I called the number. A man answered on the second ring. Nathan Pierce. I received a letter about a property transfer. Ms. Watson, I've been waiting for this call for 15 years. We met 6 days later at his office on Main Street. 3rd floor, oak desk, 2 leather chairs. Nathan Pierce was 56, gray at the temples. He slid a folder across the desk like he'd been holding it his entire career. Your grandmother purchased this house in 1998, he said. $125,000, paid in full with the inheritance from her husband. It was always her house, not your parents'. I stared at the deed. Dorothy Campbell. September 1998. She gave your parents what's called a life estate. They have the right to live there until they both pass away, but they can't sell it. They can't refinance it. They never owned it. And when you turned 30, full ownership transferred to you. He turned to page 18 of the trust documents. Grandma's handwriting, shaky but deliberate. My daughter Linda is a good woman, but she has a blind spot when it comes to her son. While we'll need protection from that. Written in 2008. I was 15 years old. Do my parents know I own it now? Nathan shook his head. Dorothy specifically requested they not be informed. The deed is public record, anyone can look it up, but most people never check. She said if they knew, they'd find a way to pressure you into giving it to Connor. I sat with that. My grandmother had seen everything. The favoritism, the inequality, the golden child syndrome. And she'd spent her last years building a legal wall to protect me from it. So they think they still own their house, I said. I sat in my car outside Nathan's office for 20 minutes, engine running, staring at the cream-colored folder on the passenger seat. For 3 years, my parents had been living in my house, collecting rent from me while praising Connor for helping the family. The irony was almost funny if it wasn't so painful. I called my best friend, Jordan Mills. You're not going to believe this, I said, voice shaking. After I explained, she was quiet for a long moment. Wah, this is huge. But you have to be careful. If they find out you own it, they'll try to guilt you into signing it over. I know, I said. That's why I'm not telling them. Not yet. I want to watch. I want to see how they treat me when they think they still have all the power. That's not the only thing I need to tell you, Nathan said. He pulled out another folder. The bank logo on the top page made my stomach drop. There's a complication. In 2020, your parents took out a home equity line of credit against the property. $85,000. How? They don't own it. The bank didn't verify current ownership. They saw Linda Watson on old records and approved it. Your parents genuinely believed they owned the house. They weren't trying to commit fraud. Where did the money go? Nathan's jaw tightened. According to the loan application, business investment for son. The room tilted slightly. $85,000 to Connor for a business that apparently never materialized. The monthly payment is $1,825, Nathan said. If you don't pay it, the bank can foreclose. It's your house now, Wah. Their debt became yours the day you signed that deed. My house. My responsibility. Connor's benefit. Story of my life. What do you want to do? I thought about the Camry, the college funds, the 7 years of rent I'd paid. The $50,400. I'm going to keep paying it, I said. And I'm not going to tell them I own the house. I want to see what happens. How they treat me when they think they're in control. Nathan studied me. That's a long game. I've been playing it my whole life. I just didn't know the rules until now. For 2 years, I paid $1,825 every month. I fixed the water heater when it burst in January 2024. I updated the homeowner's insurance. I made sure the property taxes reached the county on time. All of it quietly. All of it invisibly. In July 2024, I sat through Connor's 34th birthday party in the backyard. Balloons, a 3-tier cake, Dad grilling steaks, loudly announcing how Connor had really stepped up for the family. I was handed a paper plate and told to help in the kitchen. In January 2025, the water heater failed at 2 in the morning. I woke to the sound of rushing water, quietly called a plumber at 3 a.m., and paid $1,800 cash so my parents wouldn't worry. The next morning, Dad patted me on the shoulder and said, "Good thing the insurance covered it, huh?" I just smiled. Every month I transferred the HELOC payment before the due date, then watched my savings account slowly shrink. I kept a secret spreadsheet titled What I'm Really Paying For. By November 2025, it showed $32,850. And I watched them treat me like the burden. The whole time they were living in my house. The whole time I was paying off their debt to Connor. My parents thought Connor was making the HELOC payments. He told everyone at family dinners, at Christmas, in casual conversation, that he'd been helping Mom and Dad financially, being the good son. Every cent of those payments came from my checking account. Connor contributed nothing. Then on November 5, 2025, he came home. I pulled into the driveway at 7:13 p.m. Connor's black 2019 Ford F-150 was parked in my spot. 4 large suitcases sat on the porch, boxes stacked in the truck bed. Inside, my parents sat at the round oak kitchen table with Connor and a woman I'd seen in photos. Brittany, blonde, 28, one hand resting on a rounded belly under a loose sweater. My usual seat was taken. I stood. "Wah, sit down," Dad said. "We need to discuss living arrangements. Connor and Brittany are going through a rough patch with their apartment. The lease fell through. They'll be staying here for a while." "Temporary," Mom added, not looking at me. Brittany's hand moved in slow circles over her stomach. "We really appreciate the family support during this time." Something about the shape of her belly looked wrong. Too round, too symmetrical like a prop. 2 days later, Thursday morning, I was drinking coffee before work when Dad appeared in the doorway. "We need to talk. Connor and Brittany need more space. The guest room isn't working. We think it's best if they take your room." "My room." Brittany stepped forward, not asking, stating, "You have your own bathroom. The natural light is better for the baby's development." I looked at Mom. She was looking at the floor. By Thursday evening, it had escalated. Dad pointed at my bedroom door. "Vacate the room right now, Wah. Your older brother Connor and his pregnant wife Brittany need it." Brittany looked me up and down with pure disgust. "Honestly, it would be better if you left the house completely. We don't need you here anymore. You're just a burden taking up space." Mom stood by the window, staring at the floor. Silent. My own family threw me out like trash. I called Jordan Mills. She came over Friday evening and helped me pack. We didn't speak much. She knew the history. She'd heard me talk about Connor for years. As I carried the last box to my car, Brittany appeared in the doorway. "This is better for everyone," she said. Her coat was open. Her hand was on her belly again. And the belly didn't move, not the way a real pregnancy shifts when you walk. It sat there. Perfect. Round. Still. I drove away from 418 Metrobrook Lane. My house. Because they didn't know it was mine. The moment Jordan opened her door, I broke down. The first real tears I'd cried in years. She pulled me into a hug without saying anything. We sat on her couch until midnight while I told her everything. "You don't owe them your silence anymore," she said firmly. "Start documenting everything." That night, I created a hidden folder on my laptop. Screenshots of Brittany's pregnancy posts. Old texts where Connor bragged about helping Mom and Dad. Every bank statement I had. For the first time in my life, I wasn't just enduring. I was preparing. 3 days later, November 12, 2025, my mail forwarding service caught a letter. First National Bank of Pennsylvania. Lancaster Branch. Addressed to Wilder Watson. "Thank you for choosing First National for your refinancing needs. Your new loan amount of $220,000 has been processed. Monthly payments of $1,685 will begin December 1st, 2025. I hadn't refinanced anything. I called the bank. 7 minutes of hold music. Then a woman's voice. Mrs. Watson, we show your signature on all documents. Notarized October 12th. I went to the bank in person the next day. Claire Reynolds was the fraud investigator. 41. Sharp eyes. She studied the signature under a lamp at her desk. This isn't even close, she said. Your real signature is on file from when you updated the deed in 2023. This one, she pointed, the loop on the W is wrong. The slant is wrong. Someone traced your signature and did a poor job. 18 pages. 5 forged signatures. All notarized by Beverly Hutchkins, a legitimate notary in Lancaster. I'll need to speak with Ms. Hutchkins, Claire said. The statement came back 2 days later. Beverly had notarized the documents in good faith. A woman had presented an ID showing the name Watson. Beverly checked the photo. It matched the woman in front of her. She stamped it. The woman was Brittany. Fake ID. Watson's name. Brittany's photo. Where did the money go? I asked Claire. She pulled up the transaction record. October 16, 2025. Wire transfer. $220,000. Recipient. Connor Watson. I sat in my car outside the bank. A cold wind rattled the windows. Connor had stolen $220,000 from my house using my name. I pulled out my phone and called Troy Hicks, Connor's supposed business partner, whose number was in an old text thread from a family barbecue 2 years ago. Troy answered on the 4th ring. Yeah. This is Watson, Connor's sister. Connor said you two were starting a business. I wanted to ask about the timeline. Troy laughed. Actually laughed. Business? Connor told you we were starting a business? Lady, Connor owes me $12,000 from a poker game. He hasn't answered my calls in 4 months. There's no business. I hung up. I pulled up Brittany's Instagram. Story after story. New designer bags. A professional ring light setup. A $1,200 espresso machine. Caption, hubby spoils me rotten. In just 3 weeks, she'd spent over $65,000. I pulled up the transaction records Claire had quietly sent me. October 17th, Connor bought $89,000 worth of Bitcoin. By November 2nd, he'd sold at a 40% loss when the market crashed. The remaining money had gone to pay off his truck loan and their lavish courthouse wedding. My hands were shaking, not just from anger, but from the chilling realization that Brittany had walked into a notary's office with a fake ID bearing my name and her photo, and no one had questioned it. The Coinbase records told the whole story. Bitcoin bought at $89,000. Sold at a 40% loss. Brittany's luxury haul, $65,000. Truck loan payoff, $35,000. The wedding, courthouse ceremony plus a vineyard reception for 45 guests, $18,000. What was left? $13,000. Sitting in a joint checking account, depleting fast. Connor had burned through $220,000 in 3 weeks. And now he was living in my house, sleeping in my bedroom, while his wife wore a fake pregnancy belly and called me a burden. I sat in Jordan's apartment that night, looking at the folders I'd begun building. Bank statements. Property deed. Notary affidavit. Instagram screenshots. Wire transfer confirmations. Helic payment history. Connor's crypto transaction records. What are you going to do? Jordan asked. Build a case, I said. November 13th through December 31st. 52 days. I stayed at Jordan's place. She refused to let me pay rent. You've paid enough rent in your life, she said. Every evening I organized evidence on her dining table. 8 folders. 173 pages of documentation. Dated. Sourced. Verified. Claire Reynolds called on December 3rd. We're ready to file charges. Bank fraud, identity theft, forgery. Your brother and his wife are going to be arrested. When do you want us to proceed? Can you wait until after Christmas? Silence on the line. Why? I want them to feel safe first. On December 20th, Mom called. Wah, honey, we're doing Christmas at the house this year. Connor and Brittany want to host. Can you come? Silence long enough that I checked to see if the call had dropped. It's complicated, Mom finally said. Brittany is very stressed with the pregnancy. She doesn't want any tension. I'm your daughter. You're always my daughter. But Connor is having a baby. This Christmas is about that. 23 people. Extended family, neighbors, friends. Christmas dinner at 418 Metrobrook Lane. My house. Without me. I hung up and called Nathan Pierce. I'm ready, I said. The Instagram post appeared on December 26th. My cousin Ashley, a nurse at Lancaster General, 33, tech-savvy, texted me a screenshot. Connor at the head of the table. Arm around Dad. Glass raised. Big smile. Caption from Brittany's account. Blessed to have a husband who takes care of family. Hashtag family first. Hashtag blessed. Ashley's message beneath it. Your brother is so generous. He told us he's been covering expenses for your parents for over a year. I logged into my parents' bank account. They'd added me as a joint holder in 2019 when Dad had a health scare. 24 months of history. Dad's pension, $2,100 a month. Mom's part-time paycheck, $890. HELOC payments after June 2023? None, because I'd taken them over. Deposits from Connor, 0. I called my mother. Did Connor really pay your mortgage? She sounded confused. Honey, we don't have a mortgage. The house has been paid off since Grandma bought it in 1998. My chest tightened. They didn't even know the full picture. What about the HELOC? I asked. Silence. How do you know about that? Answer the question, Mom. Her voice went quiet. Connor's been handling that, $1,800 a month. We couldn't afford it after Dad retired. Connor saved us. Connor saved them with my money. $1,825 times 18 months. $32,850. I had paid their debt while Connor took the credit. The debt they'd created in 2020 when they handed him $85,000 for a business that never existed. I looked at my phone. December 26th. The day after they'd celebrated without me. The day after Connor had toasted to family and taking care of his parents. I picked up the phone and called Nathan Pierce. Let's send the letters. January 2nd, 2026. 10 a.m. Nathan's office. I brought all 8 folders. He reviewed them for 40 minutes without speaking. When he finally looked up, he removed his glasses. Wah, this is one of the most clear-cut cases of mortgage fraud I've seen in 30 years. Your brother and his wife are going to face serious criminal charges. I know. He prepared 5 certified letters. Letter 1 to Connor and Brittany Watson, property ownership proof. Copy of the deed showing Wilder Watson as owner since June 2023. Refinance fraud evidence with forged signature analysis. Letter 2 to Dennis and Linda Watson, complete truth about property ownership. Grandma's trust timeline. Life estate explanation. Notice of Connor's eviction. Revelation that Wah had been paying the HELOC since June 2023. Letter 3 to Connor and Brittany Watson. Official 30-day eviction notice, effective February 4, 2026. Letter 4 to Connor Watson. Demand for repayment of $220,000. Letter 5 to First National Bank. Copy of the police report and full fraud documentation. When do you want this sent? Nathan asked. I looked at the calendar on his wall. Tomorrow morning. First thing. January 3rd, 2026. 9:15 a.m. Main Street, Post Office. 5 certified envelopes, each requiring a signature, each tracked. The postal worker scanned them one by one. Someone's not going to have a good weekend, she said quietly. I tracked the packages every hour. 10 a.m., in transit. 1 p.m., out for delivery. 3:47 p.m., delivered. Signature received, Connor Watson. He'd signed for his own eviction notice. For documentation proving he'd stolen $220,000 from his sister. For evidence that would destroy his marriage, his reputation, and every claim to the moral high ground he'd occupied his entire life. I turned off my phone. Jordan asked me that evening, "Do you feel bad?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. They kicked me out of my own house. Stole $220,000 using my name. Lied to my parents about paying their bills. Excluded me from Christmas. Treated me like I was nothing. No, I said. I feel ready. The calls started Saturday evening. When I finally turned my phone back on Sunday morning, I had 15 missed calls. Connor, 6. Brittany, 4. Dad, 3. Mom, 2. 23 text messages. The escalation was visible in real time. Connor, 4:32 p.m. Saturday. Call me. Connor, 5:18 p.m. What the hell is this? Connor, 6:03 p.m. You're insane. These documents are fake. Brittany, 7:41 p.m. Please call me. Brittany, 8:15 p.m. We can explain everything. Brittany, 9:52 p.m. Connor says you're lying. This is illegal. Dad, 10:30 p.m. Wah, I don't understand what's happening. Call me. Sunday, January 5th. 11:23 p.m. My phone rang. Brittany. I let it ring 4 times. Then I answered. Hello, Brittany. Her voice cracked immediately. Wilda, please. Please tell me you didn't actually send those letters. Connor says it's fraud. You're lying. The house belongs to your parents. You can't evict us. I let the silence stretch. 3 seconds. 4. 5. Brittany, which letter are you most worried about? The property deed proving I own the house? The notary's statement proving you impersonated me? Or the police report I filed for bank fraud? Background noise. Connor's voice yelling something I couldn't make out. A door slamming. How did you know? Her voice was smaller now. I've always known. The house has been mine for 2.5 years. I just wanted to see what you'd do. Your parents said you're crazy. They said you're making this up to get revenge. Brittany, Connor lost $89,000 in cryptocurrency 2 months ago. He owes a man named Troy Hicks $12,000 from a poker game. He burned through the $85,000 my parents gave him in 2020. What investors? Her breath caught. How do you know about Troy? I know everything. The crypto losses. The gambling debt. The designer bags you bought with my money. The fake ID you used at the notary's office. The stock photo ultrasound you posted on Instagram in November. You don't understand, she was crying now. Connor said this was all going to work out. He said your parents would eventually give us the house. He said you'd never fight back. Because you never do. I didn't fight back, I said. I built a case. There's a difference. What do you want? I want you out of my house in 30 days. I want $220,000 returned. I want you to tell my parents the complete truth. And I want you to never use my name again. Connor will never agree. Connor doesn't have a choice. Neither do you. The police report is filed. The bank is investigating. Your options are leave quietly, or leave in handcuffs. What about your parents? Where will they go? They can stay. It's my house. I decide who lives here. Not Connor. Me. I hung up. 30 seconds later, Dad called. Then Mom. Then Connor. 16 calls in 40 minutes. At 12:15 a.m., I sent one text to my father. I'll be at the house Wednesday at 2 p.m. with my lawyer. We can discuss this then. Then I turned off my phone again. January 8, 2026. 2:03 p.m. I arrived at 418 Metrobrook Lane with Nathan Pierce. 3 minutes late on purpose. Dad opened the door. His face was gray. Tired. He held one of the letters in his hand. Wah, I don't know what you think you're doing, but this letter says you own our house. That's impossible. We've lived here since. Nathan stepped forward, extended his hand. Mr. Watson. I'm Nathan Pierce, Dorothy's attorney, and now your daughter's attorney. May we come in? We sat in the living room. The afternoon light came through the east windows, the same windows I'd looked through as a child, as a teenager, as an adult paying rent in my own house. Dennis sat in his chair, the letter still in his hands. Linda stood by the window, pale, arms crossed. Connor paced near the fireplace. Brittany sat on the couch, one hand on her belly, watching everything with calculating eyes. Nathan placed his briefcase on the coffee table. Connor stopped pacing. Whatever she told you is a lie. This house belongs to my parents. Who forged these documents? Mr. Watson, Nathan said calmly, please sit down. Your parents need to hear this, and you need to be sitting when they do. Connor sat. Nathan slid the deed across the table to my father. This is the recorded property deed for 418 Metrobrook Lane, filed June 5, 2023. The legal owner is Wah Campbell Watson. Not you, Mr. Watson. Not you, Mrs. Watson. Your mother, Dorothy, purchased this house in 1998 with her own inheritance money and placed it in an irrevocable trust for Wah, created in 2008. Mom's hand went to her mouth. What? Mom never said. Dorothy gave you a life estate. You have the right to live here until you both pass away, but you never owned it. And when Wilder turned 30, full ownership transferred to her. Dad's hands shook as he read the deed. Why didn't Mom tell us? Nathan's voice was gentle but firm. Dorothy wanted to protect Wilder. She saw the family dynamics. She knew what might happen. Dennis looked at me. Did you know? I've known since I turned 30. Almost 3 years ago. Linda's voice rose. You've owned this house for 3 years and you didn't tell us? You kicked me out of my own house 3 months ago, I said. You told me I was a burden taking up space in my house. Why would I tell you? Mom looked away. Dad stared at the deed like it was written in a foreign language. Connor's face went white. Wait. You've owned this since 2023? The realization was hitting him. The refinance. The forged signatures. He hadn't just committed fraud against his parents. He'd committed fraud against me. Nathan pulled out the second folder. There's more. In 2020, Mr. and Mrs. Watson, you took out a home equity line of credit against this property. $85,000. Dad nodded slowly. Yes. We needed to help Connor with a business opportunity. But Connor's been paying that back. He's been making the payments since last year. No, Nathan said. He hasn't. He spread the bank statements across the coffee table. 18 months, June 2023 through November 2025. Every payment, $1,825. Every payment from my checking account. Parents' bank account, no HELOC payments after June 2023. Connor's bank account, no HELOC payments ever. Total, $32,850. While Connor told you he was paying it, Nathan said. Mom's voice was barely audible. That's not possible. Connor. Dad said. You told us you were handling this. Connor's jaw clenched. Red-faced. Silent. Connor. Dad said again. Is this true? You weren't paying. You let your sister pay our debt. The debt we took on for you. I was going to pay it back, Connor said. With what money? I said. It was the first time I'd spoken since sitting down. Nathan laid out the rest. The refinance documents. The forged signatures. The notary statement from Beverly Hutchkins. The fake ID, Wah Watson's name, Brittany's photo. The wire transfer to Connor's account one day after the loan funded. The crypto transaction records showing $89,000 lost. The Instagram screenshots showing Brittany's $65,000 in luxury purchases. The truck loan payoff. The wedding expenses. Everything. Connor stood. This is a setup. Dad, Mom, she's setting me up because she's jealous. Nathan's voice remained level. Mr. Watson, we have security footage from the notary appointment. Your wife presented a fake ID with Wilder's name and her own photograph. That is identity theft. That is fraud. The police report has been filed. Brittany made a small sound, almost a whimper. Dad stood, walked to the window, turned his back to the room. Connor, he said. His voice was quiet. Empty. Did you take out a loan on this house? Connor looked at Brittany. She looked at the floor. Yes. Did you take the money? Yes. Did you lose it? Silence. Yes. Dad didn't turn around. His shoulders slumped. Mom was crying. Quiet tears, tissue in her hand. Nathan gathered the papers. Connor and Brittany, you have 30 days to vacate the property. Mr. and Mrs. Watson, you're welcome to stay. This is Wilder's house, and she's offered to let you remain. But the terms will be different. Connor's voice was raw. Where are we supposed to go? That's not my concern, Nathan said. You should be more worried about the criminal charges. We left. As I walked to my car, I heard shouting from inside. Connor's voice, Dad's, the sound of something glass shattering. I got in the car. Nathan got in the passenger side. How do you feel? He asked. Like I can breathe for the first time in 32 years. February 15, 2026. Saturday, 3 p.m. Dad's 63rd birthday. Aunt Diane had called me 2 weeks before. Wah, you're coming to your dad's party, right? She had no idea what had happened. The extended family had been kept in the dark. I arrived at 3:15 p.m. 23 people filled the house. My house. Aunt Diane, Uncle Jerry, cousins Ashley, Rachel, Stephen with their spouses, for children running around, the neighbors, Grandpa Watson in the corner, and Connor and Brittany, still there. The eviction date had been extended to February 28 through a court agreement while they looked for an apartment. They sat on the couch trying to act normal. Connor saw me. His face went white. Brittany whispered something to Mom. Mom wouldn't look at me. Aunt Diane hugged me at the door. It's so good to see you. I walked into my living room. Set down my water glass on the mantel. Actually, I said, before anyone leaves, I have something everyone should know. The room went quiet. 23 pairs of eyes turned to me. I want everyone here to know something. This house, 418, Metrobrook Lane, has been legally mine since June 2023. My grandmother Dorothy left it to me in a trust she created when I was 15. My parents never owned it. They have a life estate, which means they can live here until they die. But the house was always Grandma's, and she left it to me. Aunt Diane's hand went to her mouth. 3 months ago, Connor and Brittany told me to leave. They said I was a burden. They took my bedroom. They made it very clear I wasn't welcome in my own house. And then in October, Connor refinanced my house without my permission, forged my signature, and stole $220,000. I pulled the property deed from my purse. Held it up. This is public record. Anyone can verify it at the county clerk's office. My name. My house. Since 2023. Uncle Jerry looked at Dennis. Dennis, is this true? Dad's voice was barely audible. We didn't know Dorothy left it to Wah. We thought it was ours. Connor said he was helping us with the payments. Aunt Diane looked confused. Payments? I thought the house was paid off. It was, I said. Until my parents took out an $85,000 line of credit in 2020 and gave all of it to Connor. The monthly payment is $1,825. Connor told everyone he'd been paying it. He lied. I've been paying it for 18 months. While he took the credit. The room erupted in whispers and gasps. Someone's child started asking questions her mother couldn't answer. Then Carol Walsh stood up. I hadn't even seen her in the back corner. Brittany's mother. Invited by Linda before any of this had started. Brittany. Her voice cut through the noise. Enough. If Wilda is lying about the house, then prove her wrong. Show everyone the ultrasound. Show them you're really pregnant. Brittany's face flushed. I don't have it with me, Mom. Ashley was already on her phone. My cousin, the nurse. Sharp. You posted one on Instagram in November, she said, tapping her screen and holding it up. But a reverse image search shows this exact image on babycenter.com. Stock photo from 2019. People leaned in to look. You said 5 months in November, Ashley continued. Then, almost 7 months at Christmas. Now due in April, which would make you 8 months. November to February is 3 months. The math doesn't work. Brittany stood. This is ridiculous. I don't have to prove anything. Carol Walsh walked directly across the room and stopped in front of her daughter. Stand up. Mom, don't. Brittany stood. Her coat fell open. Carol reached out. Touched her daughter's belly. Pressed firmly. Felt the silicone prop through the dress fabric. Carol's face moved from confusion to disbelief to fury in 3 seconds. That's not a pregnancy, she said. That's a fake belly. The room exploded. Voices overlapping. Gasps. Aunt Diane covering her mouth. Uncle Jerry rising from his chair. Grandpa Watson asking what was happening. Someone's child crying. Carol Walsh's voice cut through everything. Take it off right now. Take off that fake belly in front of everyone. Brittany looked at Connor. Connor looked at the door. Brittany ran down the hall. The bathroom door slammed. The room erupted into chaos. Aunt Diane hugged me, whispering I had no idea through tears. Uncle Jerry confronted Dad directly. Carol Walsh dragged Brittany into the bathroom. I stepped outside onto the porch. The cold February air hit my face. From inside, I could hear Connor shouting, Dad's low, angry voice, the sound of something glass shattering. I looked out at the backyard where I'd spent so many silent birthdays, and felt something heavy finally lift from my chest. It wasn't joy. It was clarity. The long game was over. Now came the consequences. The divorce papers were filed March 10, 2026. Brittany Walsh Watson versus Connor Watson. Court of Common Pleas. Lancaster County. Grounds. Fraud. Irreconcilable differences. Brittany had deleted every social media account by March 11th. Instagram gone. Facebook gone. The blessed family posts vanished like they never existed. Carol Walsh posted one thing before deactivating her own accounts. I raised my daughter to be honest. I failed. I apologized to the Watson family. Then silence. Brittany moved back to Akron, Ohio. Her mother's house, 4.5 hours away. Connor moved into a studio apartment at $850 a month. Barely affordable after the bank started garnishing his wages. The truck was repossessed in April. Claire Reynolds called me on March 2nd. The refinance is officially void. The loan doesn't exist. Your credit is clear. The bank has written off the loss and is pursuing your brother for the full amount plus fees. What about the criminal charges? Filed with the District Attorney's Office February 12. Connor and Brittany are both facing multiple felony counts. Their attorney is trying to negotiate a plea deal that'll take months. Possibly June or later. Connor called me once, from a gas station parking lot. "I hope you're happy," he said. The bitterness in his voice was thick. I thought about it. Really thought about it. "I'm not happy, Connor. But I'm not your victim anymore. There's a difference." I hung up. March 28, 2026. 7:15 p.m. Dad called. "Wah, it's Dad." His voice was small, broken. "I know I don't have the right to ask. But your mother and I need to know, do we have to leave? Can we stay in the house?" I let the silence stretch. "We were wrong about Connor, about you, about everything. We believed him because we wanted to believe our son was the man we hoped he'd be. But you were the one who protected us, who paid our debt, who gave us a place to live. And we threw you out." His voice cracked. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I looked at the lease agreement Nathan had drafted. 1 year. $1,200 a month. Standard tenant terms. "Yes," I said. "You can stay. But not like before. Everything changes now." April 1, 2026. I moved back into my house. My parents signed the lease at the kitchen table. The same table where Dad had told me to vacate my room. The same table where Brittany had called me a burden. Nathan Pierce was there. Jordan Mills, too. Witnesses. 1 year, I said. $1,200 a month, due the first of every month. You have your bedroom and shared access to common areas. My room is off-limits. The home office is off-limits. The upstairs bathroom is mine. This is my house and we follow my rules now." Dad signed first. His hand shook. Mom signed next. Didn't look at me. "Thank you," Dad whispered. "I didn't say you're welcome. Because this wasn't a gift. This was a contract. A business arrangement. Landlord and tenants. Not mother and father and daughter. Not anymore. 3 rules," I said. 1. We don't discuss Connor unless I bring him up. His name, his situation, his problems are off-limits. 2. This is a landlord-tenant relationship. The rent is non-negotiable. House repairs, improvements, decisions, those are mine to make. 3. No guilt. No family should forgive speeches. No manipulation. You made your choice in November when you kicked me out. I'm making mine now by letting you stay." Mom nodded slowly. She looked older, smaller. "We'll follow your rules, Wah. It's your house." For the first time in my life, she was right about something that mattered. We passed in hallways like roommates. Polite, distant, respectful. Dad said good morning. I said good morning back. Mom made coffee in the kitchen. I made my own upstairs. On May 1st, Dad slid an envelope under my bedroom door. Rent, on time, with a note, "Thank you for letting us stay." I deposited the check. I kept the note, not as forgiveness. As documentation. It wasn't the family I grew up with. It wasn't the family I'd wanted. But it was a family with boundaries, with respect, with rules that protected me instead of erasing me. And for the first time in 32 years, that was enough. 6 months later. September 2026. I got promoted. Senior accountant. 12% raise. Salary from $62,000 to $69,500. I used part of it to refinish the second floor of my house. New hardwood floors, $8,500. Fresh paint, $1,200. The room that Connor and Brittany had claimed for their fake nursery became my home office. Oak desk, ergonomic chair, window overlooking the backyard. There was poetry in that. I started a vegetable garden. Tomatoes, peppers, herbs. Something growing. Something new. My parents still lived downstairs. Still paid rent, $1,200 every month, on time. We didn't have family dinners. We didn't have long conversations. We existed in the same space with clear, protected boundaries. I didn't think about Connor much anymore. When I did, I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel vindicated. I felt nothing. And that was how I knew I was healing. October 12, 2026. Grandma's birthday. She would have been 93. I drove to Greenwood Memorial, 15 minutes from the house. I'd only been once since the funeral in 2018. 8 years. Her grave was simple. Granite stone. Dorothy Campbell. 1933 to 2018. Beloved mother and grandmother. I sat on the grass next to her for 30 minutes. You knew, I said out loud. You knew exactly what they'd do. That's why you protected me. The wind moved through the trees. October leaves, red and gold. The real inheritance wasn't the house. It was the knowledge that someone had seen me. Someone had valued me enough to plan 15 years ahead. Someone had made sure I wouldn't be erased. Grandma Dorothy had given me more than property. She had given me proof that I mattered. I drove home from the cemetery. My home. The house Grandma gave me. The house I'd fought for. The house where I now lived on my own terms. If you're in a family that treats you like you're invisible, document everything. Keep records. Save emails. Screenshot texts. Make copies of important papers. Protect yourself legally before you need to. Love doesn't mean letting people use you. Family doesn't mean you have to be a doormat. Grandma Dorothy taught me that. It took me 32 years, one eviction from my own house, and $36,000 in secret payments to fully understand. But I understand now. The people who truly love you will protect you, not exploit you. And sometimes that protection comes from the quietest places. A silver locket pressed into your palm, a handwritten note on page 18 of a legal document, an envelope you didn't know existed until the moment you needed it most. She saw me. And she made sure I would survive the people who didn't. This was my story. Yours might look different. But the lesson is the same. You are worth protecting. Don't let anyone, not even your own family, make you forget that.